Petals and Petals, episode 2, Purple Static,
Hello.
Carlos. What's up?
None much. Just chilling here. What
Awesome.
about you?
You know, it's a new day, new day
day.
of interviewing. Definitely not the same day as the Allen interview.
Not the same day because I didn't want to
Definitely
take
not.
my boots off because I may or may not
yeah,
have
we
a
don't
sock.
have our toes out.
I may or may not have holes in my socks.
That is, I used to have holes in my socks, but then
Then you grew up?
Then I grew up. then I went to college.
I mean,
but-
technically I'm in college, but I'm still living in my my mom's house, so I don't know if I'm
True,
really in
true.
college.
I mean, I'm living in the dorms, so I don't really have my own place, but
But
yeah,
you out there. You living.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, let's get into this.
Okay.
For our first question, if someone came up to you in the street and asked you to describe your music in 1 to 2 words, what would you tell to them?
Honestly, whenever okay, so I'm gonna answer this like if because I've had a lot of times where classmates have found out through my Instagram that I make music.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, what type of music do you make?" My default answer is just some indie shit. I don't know. Even though I don't think it's like strictly indie, but I'm just
Yeah.
like it's easier to describe just like, "Oh, some indie shit."
Well, if you could sort of go off and like truly describe how you feel your music is, what would you tell them if you had no limits and they just let you, vent
Ramble.
out what?
I think it'd be more like just a bunch of different influences from my life, like some rock, some indie. In a lot of my most recent songs, I use a lot of it's not rapping. It's not really rap at all. But I have used a lot more syllables as I've gotten better writing lyrics.
A bit more rhythmic.
More lyrically rhythmic and stuff, So that's what
But-
I'd kind of like venture out, being also a little bit electronic, a little bit
Yeah.
of like guitar, almost a little bit of everything, but not at the same time,
Yeah.
Then like in my most recent songs, I've been doing some really weird like, I don't know, like experimental things.
yeah.
Experimental for me at least, not actually experimental like Death Grips or something,
yeah.
but just for myself. So yeah, more like experimental indie.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good way to describe your music.
Yeah.
It's always nice to get out of your comfort zone and get a little weird when it comes to making stuff.
You gotta. You can't. You gotta.
You can't be complacent. Speaking of your influences,
Mm.
I heard that you drummed for a church. Is that true?
Long time ago.
A long time ago.
Long,
how did
long
that
time ago.
affect your music career?
Well, if we go back to the church thing, I started learning guitar because of the church, and then I started playing bass through the church because they needed a bassist, and then I joined a marching band, and that's where I learned how to play drums. So when the church needed a drummer, I just filled in that role again.
Yeah.
So basically, whatever role they needed, I filled in, and I was really young, like 13, 12 maybe.
Ooh.
So I guess all of that just gave me experience, like playing with other people.
Yeah.
Knowing how to play with other people, how to coordinate, how to be on time with them, and
Yeah,
grab the
yeah.
feel for things. And so yeah, I guess that's the biggest takeaway that I remember getting from church, because it was nothing that I use in my own music, but more experiences that like have helped me.
Yeah, it's sort of, rather than influence you, it's sort of more helped you out with playing in
Mhm.
live bands such as Disco Girl.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So, it's just started off with you and Alan. How did Disco Girl sort of form?
Kind of a long story. So me and Alan have always been like the two people who have always stuck together.
Yeah.
Like, we've had other bandmates and stuff, and they've gone out and done other things with their life, like one of them moved to New York, one of them moved to Phoenix, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's always just been me and Alan sticking together. So one time we decided to just make a Spanish rock band. Sounded like ass. It was literally bad. It was so fucking bad. So we decided to just scrap that, and then once quarantine started kind of like lifting a little bit,
Yeah.
we were hanging out again, and we were like, let's just make another band, but like actually like make it good this time. And so we just started jamming again, and the whole idea of me drumming and singing came along because I was really into Surf Curse.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, let's just try that, and then that just kind of ventured out to where we are now.
That's dope. How did you two meet Dana? How did she sort of
Instagram.
that
Just
did you
online.
just like DM y'all and was like, hey, let me play bass, or how'd she get that spot?
So we'd known her for a while, like through internet. We were internet friends.
Yeah.
And oh, I thought you said I had something.
Oh no.
No, we just knew her through Instagram and stuff and whatnot. And one day we were throwing a mini house show like in my backyard, and I knew she was from San Luis, so I just told her like, oh, since you're from San Luis, it's not like far away, just come. She came, and whatnot. And then me and Alan were like, okay, I think it's time now to get a bassist to like actually get more serious. And Alan remembered that Dana played bass a lot, and she makes her own music. And so we were like, let's just ask her. And we asked her, and then she said yeah, and then we all just clicked, and now here we are.
Oh, that's dope. It's always nice seeing that sort of chemistry with other people.
Yeah.
So, Purple Static.
Yes.
How did that come to fruition? How did you come up with that name, and how did you sort of build up that identity of Purple Static?
All throughout high school, I remember always being really interested in making my own music and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so, one day I was just really bored on GarageBand on my phone and decided to start making my own things, just messing around with it, not thinking anything of it until a month in, I realized like, oh, I have 2 actually good songs like that I can release.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to drop them as fast as I could. So I remembered back in sophomore year, me and this other friend, Isaac, we made a small band where I played guitar and he played drums, and we just called it Purple Static because we thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
And he made like a little album cover, which was my first album cover. But nothing ever happened of it. Like that was there for 2 years until I did the GarageBand song. And then I asked him, I was like, yo, is it cool if I take the name? And he was like, of course, bro, like take it.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how it started.
That's dope. And with Purple Static, you see a lot. I've seen a lot of you're kind of like popping off on SoundCloud. Do you think you understand the SoundCloud algorithm, or do you think like it just loves you? And how would you use those strategies, if you had any, to translate onto streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music?
I think SoundCloud is so much different than Spotify in so many ways. Because in SoundCloud, I feel like it's easier to find new artists similar in that genre. So I feel like people who like around the same sound as Purple Static, other bands, they find me relatively easily, more faster. And the only tactic that I've been using for a while now is just consistency. For over a year now, I've been trying to drop a song a month. I never planned it or anything, but I just make a song in a day, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just drop it. So I just drop, and it happens to be like once a month.
And so it's sort of unintentionally intentional.
Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that like every single song that I've dropped recently in the past year-ish has gained like over 1,000, which is not a lot, right? But it's like it's more than I've ever had in my life, Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it this way, 1,000 people, standing right in front of you, looking at you, that's
crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so whenever I see like the little algorithm pop off, I'm like, let's go.
Let's go. What would be your favorite song that you've made so far?
That's a good question. I want to say Kill the Cowboy, mainly just because it talks a lot about my own person.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of made this persona of a cowboy, like at certain shows or whatnot. And Kill the Cowboy is basically like a cry for help for me. And then not only lyrically, but like the way the song is structured. It starts off one way, and then it transitions into another thing, goes into another thing, and then another thing. So it's like a 4-part song that I'm really, really proud of.
That's awesome. So that is amazing. So with sort of these personas that you have, I've seen at like during the disco girl shows, you all dress up sort of like clowns. Can you give us a little explanation on that?
We just love the garden, and we were like, what can we do to differentiate ourselves? We were like, let's just do face paint. Let's just steal somebody's idea. But then we kind of like, I feel like we're kind of making it our own by adding more things to it. Like I try to make each performance different by dressing up a certain way, you know, not just the typical clothes that we wear. Because that's what we would do with Purple Static, and I was like, I always wanted to do like more the theatrical side of it.
Yeah.
Even to this day, like I really want to like make it like a play or something.
You want to put on a show.
I want to put on a show, an experience. And so right now the first step is just getting everybody to dress up.
Yeah. Well, because I've seen Dana dresses up as like Ray.
Yeah.
Alan has like that dress, right?
Yeah.
And then what's your suits?
I feel like the main one right now I have is the Cowboy.
Yeah.
Which kind of ties in with the whole Purple Static thing, which is why I really love it. And then I don't know, like last show I dressed up as Zeke Yeager from Attack on Titan. It was really awful. It was a shitty cosplay. One performance I just got out of school in my scrubs, and I just played in my scrubs.
Oh, that's dope.
And just stuff like that, you know. I don't really have a thing right now other than like the Cowboy, but you know, maybe in the future.
Yeah,
I want to dress up as a wizard. I want to get like a fucking RuneScape wizard hat and shit.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. A little wand or something.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like the drumstick, you got like a wand with like a power crystal or something.
And then I throw it out on the crowd.
you blast it with magic.
And like 2 people die. It's gonna be crazy.
It's not the Travis Scott concert. So going along with that, and you know, the whole Purple Static and Cowboy things. Where do you think the Cowboy sort of persona stems from?
My dad.
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad's a cowboy. He's a fucking cowboy. Like he has the boots, the belt, the hat, everything. He has horses. He owns like a horse and shit, a ranch in San Luis. And so I've always been around that like cowboy thing. And as a child, I was very like, oh, I don't wanna be like my dad. No, I hate cowboys and whatnot. But now I'm like, hey, it's kind of dope.
That's it's always sick. It's always, you know, you end up sort of not wanting to. It's sort of like the cowboy persona was kind of like forced upon you just because you were, you know, around it. But then later on, reclaiming that identity, I feel like that's the sickest thing that anyone could ever do. Is like, you know, they're like, oh, this was forced upon me my entire life, and I always, you know.
But now you take control of it.
Yeah. You are the cowboy.
I am the cowboy.
You are the cowboy. With that being said, we're about to wrap things up here. Mr. Purple Static, Mr. Cowboy.
Yes.
Mr. The Cowboy.
The Cowboy.
So, is there any upcoming Purple Static things, big projects that you are planning on?
Mm-hmm. Throughout the year, I've been dropping a lot of little singles, and they've been, you know, they've done really good on SoundCloud, so I'm planning on compiling all of them.
Yeah.
And just putting them on streaming, you know. Maybe during the summer, I really want to push myself to make, like, a concept album. Kind of like Godspeed was my first EP. So that's what I really want to do. I want to work more on, like, making a project from start to bottom.
Yeah.
And just releasing it all at once instead of spontaneously doing it how I've been doing it.
Yeah, you want to plan it out, you know, truly put in the time and work to make a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have, folks. Purple Static out of the building. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Cut.